VCISO.au Cyberwatch, July 17, 2025. Strategic Cybersecurity Intelligence Brief, powered by VCISO.au. Stay informed, stay prepared, stay secure. Ensure your cybersecurity program is both proactive and verifiable. By Anil Yellamati. No ANZ ransomware victims reported this cycle. Former U.S. Army member confesses to telecom hack and extortion. A former U.S. Army soldier, Cameron Wagenius, alias Kyberfant0M, pleaded guilty to hacking telecom firms and extorting over $1 million. While on duty, he infiltrated networks of at least 10 organizations using brute force tools. Stolen credentials were sold on cybercrime forums like Breach Forums and used in SIM swapping scams. Wagenius also leaked sensitive government call records and was arrested in December 2024. He operated from Fort Hood, Texas, while sharing data with co-conspirators through Telegram. The campaign exposed high-level telecom data from companies like AT&T and Verizon. Investigations tied him to Canadian hacker Udisha, revealing cross-border operations. He used insider network knowledge from his military role to launch the attacks. Authorities continue analyzing stolen data to assess broader national security impacts. The breach demonstrates a critical blend of insider threat and cybercrime sophistication. His mother stated he worked in Army network comms in South Korea, unaware of his hacking. VCISO.au recommendation: conduct continuous insider threat monitoring and enforce strict access controls for personnel in sensitive roles. Chrome, 0-day CVE 2025-6554 and CVE 2025-6558 actively exploited. Google patched 6 Chrome vulnerabilities, including CVE 2025-6558, GPU input validation flaw, and CVE 2025-6554, V8 engine type confusion. Both were actively exploited in the wild and allow arbitrary code execution. The flaws were discovered by Google's Threat Analysis Group, indicating nation-state involvement. CVE 2025-6554 was fixed via a configuration change on June 26, 2025. Other patched issues included use after free and integer overflow bugs. These vulnerabilities highlight the complexity and attack surface of modern browsers. Type confusion bugs can crash systems or enable remote takeovers. Google urges users to update Chrome immediately to the latest stable version. Tags findings suggest commercial spyware actors may be leveraging the exploits. Browser vulnerabilities remain top vectors for cyber espionage and malware delivery. Organizations must ensure patch compliance across all endpoints and BYOD devices. VCISO.au recommendation: apply browser updates within 48 hours and use EDR tools to monitor for exploitation attempts. Cloudflare mitigates record-breaking 7.3 Tbps DDoS attack. Cloudflare blocked a 7.3 Tbps DDoS attack, the largest ever recorded, with 4.8 Bpps throughput. The company handled over 28 DDoS attempts in H1 2025, already surpassing all of 2024. Hypervolumetric attacks surged 592% QoQ, increasingly targeting telecom and IT sectors. Cloudflare clients in China, Brazil, and Germany were the most attacked. Indonesia, Singapore, and Hong Kong were top sources of attack traffic. Shift noted from IoT botnets to more powerful VM-based botnets, such as 3xk Tech. HTTP DDoS traffic now largely originates from virtual hosting providers. Cloudflare offers free threat intelligence feeds to mitigate provider-level abuse. Over 600 service providers now leverage this feed to reduce malicious traffic. Agriculture unexpectedly entered the top 10 targeted industries, indicating threat expansion. The trend shows DDoS becoming more frequent, distributed, and difficult to attribute. VCISO.au recommendation: implement cloud-based DDoS protection and monitor hosting providers for abnormal traffic flows. Wing FTP server RCE flaw, CVE 2025-47812. Added to CISA list, CISA flagged CVE 2025-47812, a critical RCE bug in Wing FTP server due to active exploitation. The flaw arises from null byte mishandling in Lua session files processed with elevated privileges. Attackers can inject Lua code via session manipulation, leading to root-level code execution. Even anonymous FTP accounts, if enabled, can trigger exploitation. The server lacks key security mechanisms like privilege separation or sandboxing. This vulnerability affects Windows, Linux, and macOS installations pre-7.4.4. Technical details were published on June 30th, followed by exploitation in the wild. Session cookies tied to session files allow arbitrary command execution after login. This is a full system compromise risk in both web and FTP interfaces. Admins must upgrade immediately to avoid being targeted by automated exploit kits. Mitigation includes disabling anonymous access and reviewing server privilege configs. VCISO.au. Recommendation: audit FTP services regularly, disable anonymous access, and isolate file transfer services from internal networks. Oracle Critical Patch. Update: 309 vulnerabilities. Fixed Oracle's July 2025 patch addressed 309 vulnerabilities across 34 product families. Oracle Communications had the most with 112, followed by MySQL 40 and Fusion Middleware. CVE 2025-30751 and CVE 2025-30762 scored 8.8, risking database and middleware compromise. Many flaws allow RCE with low privilege requirements and no user interaction. Apache Commons, Bean-Udl's bugs in Fusion middleware enable remote server exploitation. WebLogic Server, used in many enterprise environments, had 8 critical patches. MySQL vulnerabilities affect both core functions and clustering, requiring urgent updates. Most flaws are remotely exploitable, emphasizing the need for timely patching. Oracle database server versions from 19.3 to 23.8 are particularly vulnerable. Attackers can exploit these flaws to access, modify, or delete enterprise data. Delayed patching could lead to ransomware infections or regulatory non-compliance. VCISO.au. Recommendation: establish a 30-day patch window policy for critical enterprise software and prioritize automation of patch deployment. VPN vulnerabilities exploited in attacks on Japanese organizations. Japanese firms were targeted in a campaign exploiting Ivanti, CVE 2025-22457, and Fortinet, CVE 2024-55591, VPN flaws. Manufacturing and government-linked organizations were the primary victims. Attackers bypassed authentication using malicious HTTP requests. Post-access, malware modified registries and scheduled tasks for persistent control. The campaign lasted throughout fiscal year 2024 and involved stealthy network movement. This enabled espionage across overseas offices connected via compromised VPNs. Vulnerabilities allowed attackers to escalate privileges and pivot internally. VPN endpoints proved to be the weakest security link in multiple incidents. The attack illustrates risks of unmanaged or unpatched remote access gateways. Organizations using these platforms should conduct threat hunting immediately. Security tools failed to detect lateral movement, stressing need for behavioral analysis. VCISO.au recommendation: apply VPN patches promptly, enforce multi-factor authentication, and monitor VPN logs with anomaly detection tools. Abacus dark web market disappears in suspected exit scam. Abacus Market, a major dark web drug marketplace, went offline abruptly in July 2025. Experts suspect an exit scam due to sudden shutdowns and withdrawal issues. The platform, active since 2021, enabled 300 malware in crypto sales, including Monero. Its best month was June 2025, with 6.3 malware in transactions. In early July, deposits plummeted to 13K day, signaling user panic. TRM Labs noted escrow fund withdrawals and infrastructure deactivation patterns. An alternative theory suggests possible law enforcement takedown. Abacus had become dominant following closures of other dark web markets. Users faced delayed withdrawals before access was fully lost. Bitcoin was used for public transactions, while Monero kept bulk activity private. The platform's closure exposes buyers and vendors to arrest or financial loss. VCISO.au recommendation: monitor darknet activity using threat intelligence platforms and alert on sudden changes in market availability or actor behavior. Salt Typhoon, APT infiltrated U.S. National Guard network. Salt Typhoon, a Chinese state-sponsored APT, breached a U.S. Army National Guard network. The attack lasted from March to December 2024 and targeted hybrid government systems. Hackers exfiltrated PII, mapped network topologies, and potentially accessed classified data. The breach is considered one of the most severe compromises of a state military entity. Attackers used advanced evasion, privilege escalation, and lateral movement tactics. Zero-day vulnerabilities and misconfigurations were likely exploited for initial access. The campaign targeted fusion centers across 14 states for further infiltration. Salt Typhoon has a history of targeting telecoms and conducting surveillance. This incident may have created long-term espionage footholds in sensitive systems. Persistent rootkits and malware implants remain under forensic investigation. The DoD acknowledged the breach but stated missions were not disrupted. VCISO.au recommendation: segment hybrid infrastructure, deploy zero-trust architectures, and conduct regular red team exercises simulating APT scenarios. Ransomware exposure list: last 24 hours, France Consumer Services, 5A United States Business Services, Young Adjustment Company, Canada Business Services, Pomer and Bochia, unknown country specialty manufacturing, specialty components. Final note from VCISO.au: Australia and New Zealand remain relatively untouched this week, but the global threat landscape continues to shift. Critical infrastructure, software supply chains, and endpoint security are under siege. Ensure your cybersecurity program is both proactive and verifiable. By Anil Yellamati.